Nothing has brought me greater joy than watching the Walt Disney Company absolutely panic.
Everyone thought the new Snow White reboot would be a dazzling revival of Disney's very first princess. Instead, it became a storm of heated debates, frantic reshoots, and shocking twists no one saw coming. News of on-set turmoil leaked into the public eye before most people had even glimpsed the trailer, setting the stage for one of the most talked-about remakes in recent memory. Rumors began circulating about massive budget overruns, creative clashes, and a lead actress who wouldn't stop defending the film's radical changes. The excitement that once surrounded this production quickly shifted to confusion and frustration, leaving both fans and industry insiders asking one major question: how did one of Disney's most treasured tales unravel so fast? But that's not the whole story. Beneath the headlines and hot takes lies a complicated web of high-stakes decisions, clashing artistic visions, and a push for modern values that many argue went too far. The lead, Rachel Zegler, soon found herself caught in a whirlwind of backlash. Her emotional reactions, both online and in interviews, hinted at just how deeply she believed in this new version, only to see the public respond with overwhelming skepticism. This script takes you through the entire saga, from the very first signs of trouble to the final fallout, revealing the surprising ways one of Disney's most iconic fairy tales veered off course. Decades ago, the original Snow White
said she hated Snow White, mocked the fact that there was a prince, and that she falls in love as a
captured hearts worldwide. Audiences in the 1930s were so enchanted that some people literally wept in theaters when the beloved heroine took a bite of the infamous apple. With that powerful history in mind, it made sense for Disney to breathe new life into its oldest princess. The plan sounded simple enough: celebrate the timeless magic that made Snow White such a phenomenon, but also weave in contemporary themes to keep the story relevant for today's audiences. Early buzz was jubilant. Fans hoped to see new songs, lush cinematography, and maybe some subtle tweaks that would reflect changing cultural perspectives. However, almost from the moment production kicked off, rumors surfaced about friction behind the scenes. Word spread that the script underwent multiple drafts, each piling on more modernized elements. Certain insiders whispered that these changes felt forced, as if the studio worried the classic storyline wouldn't resonate with younger viewers unless it was radically transformed. The result was a film that, according to some who saw early cuts, hardly resembled the original cartoon at all. Enthusiasts who adored the classic version weren't the only ones with mixed feelings. Even people eager for something fresh questioned whether the new approach might undermine the essence of what made Snow White special in the first place. The stakes were undeniably high. With a big budget and a beloved intellectual property, Disney hoped for a guaranteed hit. But the cracks grew impossible to hide, especially once the casting choices were revealed. Some fans cheered the arrival of a new face in the lead role, while others worried that a complete storyline overhaul would overshadow the nostalgia. The whispers about script trouble only grew louder when the cast started making public statements, most notably the film's star, Rachel Zegler.
In which anyone was weeping in the theater as Rachel Zegler's character goes into a coma after eating an apple.
From the outset, Rachel Zegler radiated confidence about this project. She made it clear she wasn't simply signing on to be the classic damsel in distress. Her hope was to portray a heroine who stood on her own, pursuing goals beyond romantic love. Many applauded this take, calling it a welcome change that highlighted autonomy and courage. Yet, as more footage and interviews came out, it became clear that this Snow White wasn't just updated. She was practically unrecognizable compared to the original. Zegler sparked a wave of backlash when she bluntly criticized key elements of the 1937 film, going so far as to say aspects of the old plot felt outdated. She questioned the logic behind Snow White falling for a prince so quickly, hinting that the core romance was less important to modern audiences. This might not have stirred so much controversy had she delivered her opinions gently, but her directness, some called it bluntness, others arrogance, hit a nerve with nostalgic fans. People who adored the timeless romance felt alienated, as if they were being called old-fashioned for simply cherishing a story they grew up loving. But that wasn't the only flashpoint. Zegler made comments about feeling underpaid and overworked on set, which rubbed many the wrong way. Whether she was justified or not, her statements landed poorly at a time when the film already looked fragile. Internet critics seized on her remarks, calling her entitled, questioning her gratitude, and piling on insults. Even neutral observers started to wonder if Zegler's outspokenness was damaging the film's public image. Each time she tried to clarify or defend herself, the uproar only intensified, and the online chatter surged with debates about her attitude, the film's direction, and the role of a lead actress in shaping audience perception. Behind the scenes, studio executive
and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
Reportedly grew uneasy about the negative press. The tension between wanting to promote their star and wanting to prevent her from inflaming more controversies soon became a balancing act. By the time leaked footage hit the internet, people from every corner of the fandom had something to say about Snowwhite, and it wasn't good. Production hiccups are not unusual in big-budget films, but the Snowwhite reboot took reshoots to a whole new level. Insiders hinted at multiple rounds of additional filming that seemed to address different problems each time. One wave of reshoots might refine certain character arcs, while the next tried to fix tonal inconsistencies. Each fix apparently clashed with a different part of the storyline, creating a patchwork effect instead of a cohesive film. People who worked on set described a fraught atmosphere, where changes would arrive at the last minute, forcing scenes to be scrapped or rewritten on the fly. One rumor circulating online claimed that entire musical numbers were cut, reworked, then reinserted in new contexts.
I'm a narcissist.
That she is. And by the way, the producer of Snow White, his son, knows it.
These frantic adjustments only made it feel more scattered. Insiders spoke of daily confusion, a script that would pivot from comedic to bleak within the same sequence, leaving the cast to guess at what emotional beats they should be hitting. As word of this chaos spread, fans and critics alike grew uneasy. Major reshoots typically signal a studio's concern that the movie isn't shaping up as planned, and the cost skyrockets with every extra day of filming. Disney, always protective of its brand, poured more resources into the project to correct these problems, yet each attempt at salvaging the film seemed to create fresh troubles, partially because the creative team couldn't agree on the balance between paying homage to the original and delivering a radically new narrative. By the time principal photography was finally declared finished, the budget had reportedly ballooned to an eye-watering amount that demanded massive box office success to break even. And that's where the trouble truly deepened. Fans who got their hands on leaked details from test screenings were quick to highlight glaring pacing issues. One scene might lean heavily into a mystical setting, only to be followed by a segment that felt like a modern teen drama. This tonal whiplash set the stage for an underwhelming reception well before the film's theatrical release. Each new rumor found its way online, feeding the impression that something had gone terribly awry during the film's long, convoluted production process. In the end, the Snow White reboot stands as a stark reminder that reinventing a classic is a delicate endeavor. Striking the right balance between modern relevance and timeless charm requires more than a hefty budget or a familiar title. It demands careful storytelling and a cohesive vision that resonates with audiences new and old. This time, it appears Disney misread the room. The push to modernize overshadowed the fairy tale's core spirit, while behind-the-scenes troubles splintered the film into something critics found incoherent and fans labeled as an outright betrayal. Yet there's a lesson buried in the wreckage. While many fans remain open to the idea of updated fairy tales, they also expect these stories to hold on to the emotional truths that made them classics to begin with. A heroine can be independent without abandoning the warmth and wonder that defined her legacy. Powerful messages about self-worth can flourish if the narrative is strong enough to support them. Ultimately, a new Snow White could have expanded the original's themes rather than discarding them. That chance, however, is now lost in a whirlwind of online outrage, box office disappointment, and a tarnished lead performance. In the months ahead, industry insiders will likely dissect this film's downfall from every angle. Some will place blame squarely on the star, others on the creative team, and still others on an over-reliance on brand nostalgia. Whatever the conclusion, Snow White's meltdown will stand as a benchmark for how not to handle a legacy property. It will also force Disney to reconsider how it approaches iconic tales moving forward. After all, if even the oldest and most beloved of its princesses can't guarantee success, then no remake is a sure bet. The conversation now shifts to the future. Will Disney adapt and refocus on quality storytelling? Or will it double down on trendy themes and brand recognition alone? Only time will tell. But for fans of classic magic, who once shed real tears when Snow White bit into that poisoned apple, this reboot's crushing finale is a bittersweet warning. Beloved stories deserve more than lavish sets and buzzwords. They deserve respect, craftsmanship, and a genuine spark of wonder that lights up the screen. Without that spark, not even the fairest of them all can break the spell of disappointment.